A nation is never tested by how loudly it celebrates liberty, but by who it quietly asks to sit in the back while it does. There is a strange friction in the air this year, not the kind you can explain easily, not the kind written in headlines, the kind you feel when a story you were told about freedom starts to sound slightly different depending on who is speaking. In a few weeks, the United States will celebrate its 250th anniversary, the sesquicentennial, 2.5 centuries of independence, of flags, speeches, monuments, and memory. A nation preparing to look in the mirror and call what it sees liberty. But in Washington, D.C., something quiet happened before the celebration even began. The organizers of Capitol Pride moved their 51st celebration to June 12th through 21st. Not as a statement, not as a protest, as logistics. But logistics are never just logistics when they shape who fits into history and who has to step aside for it. Because in the same month, a nation prepares to celebrate freedom at scale, a community adjusted its calendar just to make room for it. And that is where the contradiction begins. Because Pride 2026 does not sound like an invitation anymore. It sounds like something closer to a field manual. Exist. Resist. Have the audacity. 3 sentences. No softness, no decoration, no distance, just pressure. And if you listen closely, the reason is not hard to understand. Capitol Pride did not announce this theme with fireworks. They did it with rain, with protest footage, with gray skies, with sound that feels like something approaching, not something ending. Because 2026 is not being experienced as celebration alone. It is being experienced as tension. Across recent years, civil rights organizations like the ACLU have tracked a surge in legislation affecting LGBTQ+ lives, especially targeting transgender people, across multiple states. Not abstract debates, concrete policies, definitions rewritten, protections questioned, rights debated in rooms where the people affected are not always present. And when law begins to define identity instead of protect it, something fundamental shifts. Because then existence is no longer assumed. It becomes conditional. And that is where the word exist stops being poetic. It becomes biological. Something you have to insist on in places that act like you are optional. A trans teenager walking into school in a state debating their legitimacy. A couple holding hands in public while wondering which version of the law they are under today. A parent explaining to a child why their family is suddenly a discussion. Existence in this context is not passive. It is resistance before resistance even begins. To understand what this pressure feels like on the ground, you don't need abstractions. You need rooms. Small rooms. Government rooms. Local rooms. Like Fresno, California, where a county board voted 3-2 to block a public library from participating in Pride Month for the next 5 years. Not a parade decision, not a symbolic gesture. A library. A place built on the idea that people and stories should be accessible. And the argument was not about cost. It was about presence. What should be allowed to be acknowledged in public space? On one side, people called it indoctrination. On the other, community members stood up and said something far simpler. You believe you can legislate us out of existence. And then the vote passed. And nothing dramatic happened. No collapse. No noise. Just silence. The kind of silence that doesn't feel empty. It feels heavy. People didn't argue in the hallway afterward. They held each other. Because sometimes the moment you realize you are being erased doesn't come with chaos. It comes with calm. And that calm is louder than shouting. Even broader systems have shown similar tensions. At times, symbols tied to resistance, like the pride flag at Stonewall National Monument, have been caught in procedural removals and reinstatements, turning even historical space into something fragile and negotiable. And when that happens, something shifts in the collective mind. If even memory can be adjusted, what cannot? And yet, pride continues. Not as contradiction, but as proof of complexity. Because while pressure rises in some places, visibility expands in others. Capitol Pride still organizes festivals, concerts, marches, gatherings. Millions still gather globally across Pride events in cities like Madrid, São Paulo, and beyond. According to international LGBTQ+ travel networks like IGLTA, Pride has become both cultural movement and global infrastructure, interconnected, visible, economic, and emotional. But even that visibility carries contrast, because over 70 countries still criminalize LGBTQ+ identities in various forms. So in 2026, a strange dual reality exists. In one place, Pride is a festival. In another, it is forbidden. In another, it is debated. In another, it is celebrated but politically fragile, all at once. And that is why the phrase "have the audacity" is not decoration. It is instruction, because audacity is what remains when safety is inconsistent. Audacity is showing up anyway. Audacity is being visible without permission. Audacity is choosing joy when joy itself is questioned. Not because it is easy, but because disappearing is no longer acceptable. So why does 2026 feel different? Because it collides with a national mirror. A 250-year reflection asking what liberty has meant and for whom. And in that reflection, one truth becomes unavoidable. Pride is not outside the American story. It is inside it. It always was. It is not a side chapter. It is part of the same unfinished draft. Because history is not only written in declarations, it is written in who gets to remain visible after them. And LGBTQ+ communities, across generations, have never simply waited for permission to be remembered. They have insisted on it, through silence, through protest, through survival, through joy that refused to disappear. And so when this year's theme is spoken, exist, resist, have the audacity. It is not a slogan. It is a record of persistence, a refusal to be edited out of a story while it is still being written. And maybe that is what 2026 really reveals. Not that progress has stopped, but that it was never automatic. It has to be held, reasserted, relived, every single time it is tested. So as the nation prepares to celebrate 250 years of its identity, another truth stands beside it, just as real, just as present. We were never waiting to be included in history. We were already inside it, and we are not moving our chairs. Exist, resist, have the audacity, not as hope, not as poetry, but as presence.